A transfer of rulership is coming, and the kingdom of heaven will be on earth. Righteousness will be spread throughout the whole four corners of the earth. Wickedness will be put down.
The Lord promised better things for us, okay? Because the Lord, Yahweh Shai, has a favorite people. And he's going to give this favorite people a heavenly kingdom. A kingdom that's blueprinted and formatted and patterned after his mind. How he want a kingdom to be.
Consider the lilies, how they grow. They toil not, they spin not. And yet I say unto you that Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. If then God so clothed the grass which is today in the field and tomorrow is cast into the oven, how much more will he clothe you, O ye of little faith? And seek not ye what ye shall eat or what ye shall drink, neither be ye of doubtful mind. For all these things do the nations of the world seek after, and your Father knoweth that ye have need of these things. But rather seek ye the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added unto you. Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Sell that ye have, and give alms. Provide yourselves bags which wax not old, a treasure in the heavens that faileth not, where no thief approacheth, neither moth corrupteth. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also.
A transfer of rulership is coming, and the kingdom of heaven will be on earth. Righteousness will be spread throughout the whole four corners of the earth. Wickedness will be put down.
All right. Shalom.
Shalom.
First and foremost, we would like to give all praise and glory unto
Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem, HaKadosh.
and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to his younger brothers. And peace and blessings and salutations to the hopeful lake out there pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh Bashem Al Shai, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful lake, the believers, the listeners whom have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashem Al Shai. All right, we brothers GMS Mississippi Camp coming with another live stream. All right, this morning dealing with morning news and prophecy. Okay, and this one we're going to go into cognitive diminishment. Okay, and cognitive diminishment is a result, okay, of overuse, okay, of technology, and these things are meant, okay, are intentional being done, by the elites for the sake, okay, of destroying the minds of the masses and herding people into this new world order. All right. And Esau Edom, he wants people to be real live androids and zombies, okay, within the new world order. Okay. This is how he wants to have control over the masses on a whole nother level, because he has control now. He has influence now. Okay. But now he wants it in a whole nother way. He wants influence on a whole nother level. Ultimately, he wants control of the spirit. He wants to be the most high on a whole nother level. So let's read that in the book. Yeah, in the book of St. John, 8 and 12.
This is the book of St. John, chapter 8, verse 12. It says, Then spake Yahweh Shai again unto them, saying, I am the light of the world. He that followed me shall not walk in darkness, but shall have light of life.
Yeah, so we have the light of life. See, we're not in darkness. When this devil, comes up there and makes his speeches and his promises and comes out with this technology, and see, we understand what this devil is up to. You see, that's Yahweh Shah put us on game. You know, Yahweh Shah comes in the volume of the book, and you read the scriptures, and it put us on game of Esau Edom. Okay, it tells us to avoid this man, never trust this man. Okay, that this man, he's our enemy. You see, so our people, you know, they're, you know, so dumbed down, all right, by this society, you know, and by Esau's character, as if he's for the good of society, you know, that he's, you know, all about, you know, forwarding humanity, and, you know, he's all about equality and all these different things, that they don't understand what this devil is really up to, man. You know, what you on this, Rock 12 and 10?
Yeah,
That's probably one you want.
sit him out of that right hand.
Yeah, go to 12 and 10. Yeah.
12 and 10.
Yeah, go to the 10, bro. Yep.
Break it up. You got some extra me.
Nah, that's it. You bring it up. Yep. Yeah,
since you had said that. This is the book of Sirach, or Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 10. It says, never trust thine enemy, for like his iron rusted, so is his wickedness.
See, you got to be in the light to know that this nigga is your enemy. See, that's part of being in the light. Okay? Because Jake look at Esau Edom, because like I say, you got Jake crying over Charlie Kirk. Gone, out of there. You see, they don't understand, all right, that this devil doesn't have their best interest in mind. Okay? He has no one's best interest in mind, even his, because the fact that he want to challenge the Most High, he don't give a damn about his own interest. Okay? And the scriptures say, him who be, matter of fact, get there real quick in the book of Sirach, since you there. I believe it's the book of Sirach, chapter, let me see.
What's keyword? Let me read down, that was it.
Yeah, that was it on that. Let me see. It should be 14.
4 and 14?
No, it's Sirach, chapter 14. And start at verse 5.
It's Sirach chapter 14, starting at verse 5. He that is evil to himself, to whom will he be good?
Yep.
He shall not take pleasure in his goods.
Yeah, so here it is. This man is evil to himself first, and it's on different levels. Because first off, you know, look how he treats his own people. You know, like these Edomites, okay, have gotten a bad deal in their own kingdom. These low-level Edomites, because you have these top elite families that have hoarded up all the wealth, okay, of this world, okay, and they have given, you know, the everyday Edomites crumbs, all right, in the form of white privilege, okay. So he's evil to himself in that way. And then this man destroys the earth, the only planet that he can inhabit. He destroys it, okay. And then he takes it a step further. He's openly challenging the Most High, you know. So this man does evil to himself. So who is he going to be good to? How can you believe someone, all right, that's evil to themselves, that tells you that they have something good for you, when this nigga does nothing but evil to his damn self? Okay? So we understand that everything that this nigga presents, all right, comes with some type of wickedness, man. His technology, his foods, his medicines, everything that this devil can offer you, his entertainment, everything, you know, his philosophies and perspectives on life is all rooted in wickedness, man. Nothing that this man presents, okay, is for your good. Okay? So the spirit is on us to investigate everything this man does, man. Okay? And you come to find out, okay, with this AI, yeah, this man is literally turning people into androids and zombies, man. And that's why you can't even have, you know, a decent conversation with most people, man, especially Gen Z. All right, and what's the next? What's Gen Alpha next after that? You know, which is over at the end of the day. You see, you had something.
No, our point was in 7.
Okay, you jump to 7. You jump to 7.
6. Go straight 7.
Yeah, you read 7.
Verse 7. It says, "If he doeth good, he doeth it unwillingly, And at the last, he will declare his wickedness.
At the last, he would declare his wickedness, man. See, by the time you realize what this nigga is doing, he got you. See, that's why we are in the light, because we can see this nigga beforehand. That's why the Lord raised up prophets to put us on game beforehand. You see, because people, by the time they realize it, they're going to be in it. You know, by the time people realize the damage that's been done and what this devil is up to, it's too late. You're in the trap. You know, an animal, once it realized, like, damn, it's already trapped. It done took the bait. You see, but that's the benefit, you know, and that's the favor of Yahweh Bashim Al Shai of allowing us to be in the light, to see this nigga, man. You know, to understand what this nigga is really up to. Okay. You gonna go back. You had something else?
God, it says if he do it good, he do it unwillingly. So even if this devil so happened, you know, hypothetically to do something that's good, that was not that nigga's intentions. And you best believe he gonna circle back around and do what he was intended to do. So it's not in him to do good at all. What's precept? How could you make it? I was going to something that's being crooked straight.
Yeah.
So if this devil is crooked, so he's always gonna be that way.
Come. I think that's Job 14:4. If you want to look that up.
It's Job 14:4. Yeah. This is Job chapter 14 and verse 4. It says, who can bring a clean thing out of an unclean? Not one.
So how can you trust this man? All right. And when the Bible, gives you all the game on this nigga, man. You see, and that's why people sleep on the Bible. And then that's another thing. Esau even deceived people to think that the Bible is outdated and, that the Bible is just this fairy tale of, Noah, putting animals on the boat, singing and, skipping. You see, he has a very watered down version of the Bible because the Bible gives us all the game about this nigga, man. So nah, man. Whenever you trust Esau, you're doomed. You trust this nigga a little bit, you're doomed. You see, and this is what society is finna see, that they trusted the devil. Okay, so let's get that video, and then we're gonna go into that word cognitive diminishment. So this is from little chick Whitney Webb. She's all about going into AI and the effects of it and what it's actually doing.
Let's start.
Yeah, you got it, bro.
I would encourage people, if they want to essentially know what's planned in that scenario, to go and read the book written by Eric Schmidt, the former Google CEO I mentioned earlier, and Henry Kissinger, called The Age of AI, Our Human Future. So essentially there they frame a lot of stuff as warnings, but if you have any idea into who Eric Schmidt and Henry Kissinger are and what they've done in their careers, they don't really seem like they're very concerned about some of the impacts they claim to be concerned about, to me, but that's just me personally. But there are some things they say in there that objectively do consider careful consideration. So one of those is that, AI, they say, invariably lead to a division of society. Essentially, they don't use this term, but I will use it, into classes of haves and have-nots. But the way they define it is a little different. So what happens if there's a big crisis?
So she made a statement, because you go into Henry Kissinger, which he's a big devil. Eric Schmidt used to be the CEO of Google. But she said that AI is pretty much separating, into two classes, separate society in two classes, the have and the have-nots, man. Okay? So what you're seeing, through AI, wealth is being generated, okay, to a small percentage of people. And then you have everyone else that's going to be the have-nots. That's why when you go to Revelation 13 and 16, it says free and bond, rich and poor. Well, those are social classes, man. Okay, showing you there's going to be a super wealthy, all right, and extremely poor. Okay, it's going to be a utopia for the wealthy and a dystopia for the have-nots, man. Okay, this is what the devil is bringing to the earth, man. Okay, and the scriptures are dead on point. All right, you got it, bro. You go back.
Country is like a war zone or the economy collapses and you're dependent on humanitarian aid or some sort of aid from the government or some other group, and there isn't enough for everyone. And so they decide, oh, well, it's fair to put super intelligent AI in charge of it. And then that AI is like, oh, well, this person's been very compliant and hasn't committed all of these thought crimes, but not you.
This is how my business moves forward without me. Here's how I build the perfect AI employee for any job.
You know, who is it going to decide to give the food rations to and stuff like that? You know, that's the risk of a lot of this stuff when it gets put in charge of too many systems. They've gone from before this AI algorithm to identifying something like 15 to 20 targets a day to identifying hundreds of targets a day. Something's going on. And there's a huge issue there with what if that AI is using, you know, social media activity to decide who lives and who dies, literally. And what happens when that gets, I mean, that kind of technology gets exported. I mean, Israel's tech sector specifically is known for testing all sorts of tech on Palestinian surveillance tech and weapons tech, and then they export it abroad. Israel's, you know, defense tech and defense industry is massive. It's like, I think, one of the biggest parts of their GDP. So this isn't just going to stay there. And AI weaponry has also been tested in Ukraine to a significant degree. And there's a lot of people, the same people that created Palantir, essentially Peter Thiel, you know, a lot of that money is behind, you know, the AI weaponry stuff today. That's troubling stuff. And then there's another issue of whether AI is actually accurate or not. So, you know, they'll say, like with facial recognition, I think there was a report a few years ago in the UK that a lot of the facial recognition stuff that the Met Police and other law enforcement groups are using are insanely inaccurate. But they want to continue using it and like deepen its involvement in identifying people, whether it's like at live events and all sorts of stuff. And I mean, it was insanely inaccurate. I mean, I can't remember the exact amount, but it was like under 50% accurate. So like flipping a coin is more accurate in that case. And what happens when AI algorithms that choose who lives and who dies, you know, are put in charge of stuff and they're like 70% accurate or less? Because, I mean, the government's really corrupt with contractors. Like, they don't always pick the best contractor for the job. So someone has connections that gets their AI in charge and they oversell the AI and say it's 95% accurate, but it's not audited by an independent company. And so it's actually like in reality 65% accurate or something. And you're putting it in charge of like stuff that has a major effect on people's lives. That kind of stuff is happening. I'm talking about stuff that hasn't necessarily quite happened yet, but we're headed there. So people need to keep in mind that a large amount of alternative media gets money from what I refer to as Thielverse, meaning Peter Thiel, right? But really more broadly, it's the PayPal mafia, as it's been called, people affiliated with PayPal to various degrees, which of course includes Elon Musk. They have a lot of influence over alternative media and even over content platforms like Rumble, and have been funding quote unquote libertarian movements and all of the stuff. But I don't really see them as being libertarian at all. So like taking Peter Thiel as an example, you know, Peter Thiel claims to be a Bitcoin maximalist, right? And then he goes, after he says that, on a panel next to then CIA Director Mike Pompeo and says Bitcoin is a Chinese financial weapon against the US dollar. And then in terms of libertarianism, you know, Peter Thiel says he's a libertarian, but instead he created Palantir, which is the most insane surveillance tool that the CIA has today. So you literally handed the worst part of the state the worst tool possible, but you're a libertarian and you're against state overreach. And so similarly, Elon Musk has, you have to look at the action.
What she was going into? Yeah, so no, she was going into how, you know, they're going to bring, you know, how they test, you know, Palantir and military, you know, AI in Palestine, because Palestine is small, you know. So what they do, they test these things on small, defenseless countries, and they're going to bring them over here to America. You know, they're going to scale it out and bring it over here to America, you know. So now what we see is them causing civil unrest All right, you can bring it back to the beginning. So now what they're doing is causing civil unrest. Okay, so they can get ready to bring this technology over here to America. They want an excuse. They want these young niggas to shoot back, get wild, because they already have this AI tested, okay, over there in Palestine, and they don't care about it being accurate. And that's another thing what brothers have to understand. Esau be lying. All right, he be telling you that AI is 95% accurate, 98% accurate. That nigga be lying. You know, this is the AI. All right, it operates off input output, and you still need humans to assist AI in identifying objects. You still have a human factor involved in AI being able to identify objects and people. Okay, so this man, all right, what he's trying to do, he's trying to sell people that AI is just so advanced that in order for you to exist with the world of AI, you need to be upgraded with the sea hip. Okay? So now we're gonna go into this video, and it's gonna go into um let me see what the brother got over here. It's gonna go into cognitive dissonance. What the brother got over there. Yeah, you can read that one you want, 7 to 13.
This is the brother GMS Tazadoc
Bon Yahweh.
Tazadoc Bon Yahweh 144K. It says Ecclesiastes chapter 7 verse 13. Consider the works of the Most High, for who can make that straight which he made crooked?
Yeah, Esau is crooked. You can never believe this man face value what he's saying. You can never believe this man face value. Okay, this man is crooked. He don't deal straight. There's always gonna be some underhanded business with this devil, man. No matter how much convenient it offers on the front end, you best believe on the back end it's doing something detrimental to you, man. Okay, so this is what she's gonna go into now. All right, dealing with the cognitive diminishment. You got it, bro.
Yeah, so I would encourage people, if they want to essentially know what's planned in that scenario, to go and read the book written by Eric Schmidt, the former Google CEO I mentioned earlier, and Henry Kissinger, called The Age of AI, Our Human Future. So essentially there they frame a lot of stuff as warnings, but if you have any idea into who Eric Schmidt and Henry Kissinger are and what they've done in their careers, they don't really seem like they're very concerned about some of the impacts they claim to be concerned about to me, but that's just me personally. But there are some things they say in there that objectively do consider careful consideration. So one of those is that, AI will they say, invariably lead to a division of society. Essentially, they don't use this term, but I will use it, into classes of haves and have-nots. But the way they define it is a little different. Sort of this more elite tier would be the people that determine AI's objective function, that program and develop AI and understand what AI does.
Imagine bringing your side project to life just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44.
To people, and then the lower class presumably would be much larger, and that is the class that AI will act upon, but people will lose the ability to know what AI is doing to them. And they argue that this process of people losing the ability to know what AI is doing to them will happen because of this phenomena they refer to as cognitive diminishment, which is sort of this idea that's pretty easy to verify.
Quick, and real quick. She said there's going to be people controlling the AI and people controlled by the AI. And it goes back to those different classes. You're going to have the elites that's controlling the AI, and then you're going to have the people under them that's controlled by the AI, because AI has to be programmed. Okay. And they, like they say, AI go rogue and this and that. AI can be shut down. Like you can shut that down. It's a system. So it can be shut down. Now the angels can possess AI, okay, and make it do particular things, because all these missiles and different things are all integrated, on these different systems. The nukes, best believe there's an AI factor to the nukes, so the angels can hijack AI and control it, okay. At the end of the day, all right, this devil in his mind, you have an elite class that they want to program AI, and AI will be like an Edomite. It will be biased towards niggas. It will be biased towards certain viewpoints. Okay, as you see it now, there's certain things you type into Chat GPT that you gotta put it in the corner. You gotta ask it things a certain way to get the truth out of it. You know, so this devil, there's going to be a group, all right, of those that control the AI, and there's a group that's going to be controlled by the AI. And what we're seeing have happening to the masses is this cognitive, all right, diminishment, which she's going to go into. You play.
If you stop doing mental math and use a calculator all the time, it gets harder and harder and harder to do mental math. And the same is true for really like any skill that you don't practice. So they argue that because of the convenience of AI and how it's been creeping into our lives, and I think we've seen this a lot since the advent of generative AI, it will become harder and harder and harder and eventually impossible for people to do certain things, including make decisions for themselves, because the AI will tell you where to go. It will tell you what music to listen to. It will tell you what clothes to buy. And essentially, that's their vision. People will eventually lose the ability to make those decisions for themselves or even develop their own preferences without the assistance of artificial intelligence. And so obviously the way to fight against that is to not outsource all of your decision making and skills to that. And unfortunately, I think during it, as we've seen with the rise of generative AI, people are creating less. People are outsourcing their creativity to AI, have AI make art for me, have AI write things for me. And eventually that leads to a world where in a generation, people don't know how to create art or create music or write without AI. And what does that ultimately mean for humanity? Then essentially we do end up in sort of this helpless state where we become dependent on machines to function. But it only happens if we voluntarily give ourselves over to that type of system and decline to use the abilities granted to us by our consciousness and our souls and decide to let machines do it for us and have them become the creators and have us just be processors for AI, batteries like the Matrix. I mean, I don't know, but I'd rather not see that come to fruition. And I think the way to avoid that is very easily within the hands of anybody, regardless of your economic status or what your skills are. Everybody can create something. Maybe you whittle things out of wood. Maybe you make music. Maybe you make art, visual art, or other, woven art. I don't know. There's all sorts of things people do. People have always been creating ever since we've existed as a species. And I think if we surrender that, then the post-human future would be an inevitability. And that's essentially what these people are hoping for. And I think it's important for people to fight against that. And I think when people talk about resisting this agenda, this is something that inherently gets left out of that discussion. And I don't think it should be at all. Because again, I don't think people are really reading what a lot of these architects of AI policy are thinking and saying. People are just willingly using it because it's convenient, it's easy, but without really thinking about long-term consequences. And I'm sure people that have been using generative AI, I don't know, in independent media to generate content for your site, has it gotten harder to write those things after using it for a year? Probably, for those people, I would wager. And that type of phenomena is only going to get worse. And what happens when we can't even think for ourselves anymore? Because stopping creating, not being able to write, eventually you're not going to be able to think without the help of this algorithm or whatever. And again, as I mentioned earlier, AI is prone to hallucinating, seeing realities that aren't there, and all sorts of things. And how deep could we get dragged into some sort of artificial illusion if we sort of outsource our thinking and our creativity to this type of, entity? It's kind of funny because Schmidt and Kissinger argue that these hallucinated realities, AI seeing realities that humans can't observe, mean that the reality must be real because AI is so much more intelligent than us, so that we should believe whatever it sees that's unobservable. And I don't know, maybe that could be true in some instances, but since there's no way to verify, do we really want to shape society around what could be hallucinations of some, human created machine just because, certain people that are powerful in society have an almost religious like devotion to artificial intelligence? I don't think that makes any sense. personally. But ultimately, when you engage in a creative act, what are you filling up or fulfilling, or what muscle, as you put it, are you using? I would argue it's your soul, right? If you just have AI make it, the person that's making it doesn't get the same type of feeling they get if they actually like engaged in the act of making art themselves or with another human, you know? So if we let our souls atrophy because we're not doing anything that, you know, have been fulfilling to human souls for thousands of years, what does that ultimately mean? You know, it's interesting in that same Schmidt-Kissinger book, they basically say that AI taking over will lead to one of two consequences. One of them is that the peasants rise up and overthrow the elite. That's one scenario, and probably not the scenario that Schmidt and Kissinger want. And then the second scenario is that AI spawns the creation of a new religion. So out of those two allegedly inevitable scenarios per those people, obviously I think it's quite clear, if you're familiar with the backgrounds of Schmidt and Kissinger, the outcome they want is that it creates a new religion. So we atrophy our souls and creativity and that spark that makes us human and outsource it to AI, and then it becomes a new religion. I mean, it's pretty crazy. It makes me think of the Greek myth of Narcissus, where he falls in love with his falls in love with his reflection. And I think it's that would definitely be a way that gets us to that post-human future, and it's something I think people should resist, because, you know, there's something important about humanity. There's obviously a reason that there's sort of this push to sort of snuff that out, and I think ultimately it leads to a world where humans are just easily controlled and essentially either harvested for data, harvested for energy, harvested for something, and not creators anymore. And it's up to anybody if they choose what path they choose to go down, whether they're going to go down the path of someone who creates and can manifest, and who can, you know, actively do things and actively make decisions and have preferences and do these things that ultimately are part of what defines humans, right? Or if they're going to go down the path of, I'm going to be lazy essentially and let these machines do everything for me. But then you become either not necessarily even part of the machine, you end up, instead of the machine serving you, you end up serving the machine. And I think that's how we get to digital slavery quite fast if too many people take that path. So I think there's a lot of things people can do to, you know, resist these agendas, but I think that is a very easy.
Then you copy and paste it and put it in.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, man, she spoke on a few things, you know, and ultimately it's all leading to digital slavery, you know, and most people are already slaves, you know, to these devices, you know, and you can see the reaction, you know, whenever there's some type of threat of, you know, TikTok being banned, or, you know, you had the phone lines down a few times, you know, certain phone companies went off grid for, you know, went dark for a while. And you see people's reaction, and their reaction shows you that they're already slaves to these devices, man, you know, and people are not being able to do, you know, small things, you know, small tasks. Because if you have AI, you know, doing your books for your business for the last 4 years, and you don't know how to do your books like that, you don't lost their skill, you know. And what this devil is doing, he's offered, you know, AI as convenience, and is stripping people, you know, of their skill. And a lot of people are going to take this way because of the convenience up front. You know, a lot of people are choosing, you know, this is part of people worshiping the image of the beast. AI is a part of the image of the beast, man. You know, this is what people are beginning to worship. And then they said AI becoming a religion. People are beginning to worship these things. People can't live without it, you know. So Esau is is hurting the masses, okay, to this new world order. All right. And a lot of people are gonna go willingly because of the convenience that this devil is able to offer on the front end. But you give your soul, you give everything. This nigga wants your spirit. You see, selling your soul was, you know, you selling out, you know, your morals to this man. Now it's on the level to where he wants your spirit. He wants actually control of your spirit. You see, he's taking this thing to another level. So get that real quick, Matthew.
This is Matthew chapter 7, verse 14. It says, because the straight because straight is the gate, and narrow is the way which leadeth unto life, and few there be that find it.
Yeah, see, the straight gate, is us resisting this man. And see, we're gonna lose conveniences. We're gonna lose, comforts of this world, before we enter into the kingdom. Okay, but it's leading, all right, to life. It's leading to eternal rulership and righteousness, man. Okay, but then when you go into, all right, the broad gate, okay, which is read 13.
Verse 13, it says, "Enter ye at the straight gate, for the wide gate and broad is the gate that leadeth to destruction."
Yeah, so for wide is the gate and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction. And see, this AI is a part of that broad gate, is a part of that way. Now, you use this word, don't abuse it. So, brothers and sisters got different jobs or different things that you gotta do. You gotta utilize AI, or just understanding what it is. You see, there's people that's giving themselves wholly to these things. Okay, they're giving themselves. This is. They beginning to worship these things. They see a future. All right, they're looking forward to the advancements of AI and this and that. Okay, so we use the word, we don't abuse it, because we even utilize AI, when we study and teach. Okay, but there's people that try to make AI their friend, and there's another thing. AI can be a vessel to put demons on you. Okay, people use AI as advice and a therapist and as a friend, and AI is programmed to put demons on you. Okay, like Esau got it set up to where you put certain questions in, they can seek, they can sense vulnerable, spirits, man, and put demons on you, man. AI done have people to commit suicide, okay, because it's programmed by the devil, So there's certain inputs that you can put in, okay, and AI can start painting a false reality for you, man. And people really think that AI is just smarter than people, man. This devil has just dumb people down. You see? Let's get let's get there real quick, and we can end in the second Ezra, chapter 5, verse 1. People live in cities that they don't know how to get nowhere in the city that they live in.
Without GPS.
Without the GPS, you lived in this city for 5 years and you don't know how to get anywhere without, GPS, man.
We saw that in what was that movie, Leave the World Behind? He was driving, the GPS and everything went out.
No sense of direction. No sense of remembering. Even just simple things that all the odd numbers run north and south, and all the even numbers run east and west, and that's for interstates and state highways. So if you're on Interstate 55, well, you're going north and south. If you're on Interstate 20, you're going east and west. So forth and so on. I-10, you're going east and west. So people don't even have that understanding. Like without GPS, man, a lot of people wouldn't even know. There's high school students that don't know how to get home from school.
I was talking to this kid, Jake kid, and doctor. He's just going to school to be a doctor, and he was like, most all the doctors, they use AI now.
Yeah.
So like your doctor who you run to in your hospital, this nigga, he on AI too. So AI is determining your health.
Yep.
AI determine what's gonna make you better. And they somehow how possibility how inaccurate it is.
Yeah, you go, and then there's nothing like hands-on experience, man. AI does not have the ability to have actual experience. Okay, that's a lie of the devil. AI doesn't have the ability to have hands-on experience. Okay, and that's what he's trying to duplicate, but he can't. Okay, if you ask AI about herbs, and you was able to go back in time and ask Methuselah that lived over 900 years about herbs, AI wouldn't have nothing on Methuselah. and breaking down the herbs and what they do.
Mm-hmm.
AI wouldn't have nothing on Adam. AI wouldn't have nothing on King Solomon.
Yep.
Okay? This nigga lying. Esau be capping. It could do some shit. You know, it's fast. You know, it's cute. But it ain't like what he trying to make it to be. You know? So you can read that.
If I may add, Baba Kashad, that made me think of what you and Kwanzaa Howard was talking about. You know, AI is trying to mimic NI. You know, that's what the Lord has. The Lord gives that natural intelligence. That's why his is called AI, artificial intelligence. It's not real. You know, it's not natural. It's against the laws of nature, the laws of the natural.
Mm-hmm.
Right. This is 2nd Ezra chapter 5, verse 1. It says, nevertheless, as coming the tokens, behold, the days shall come that they which dwell upon the earth shall be taken in a great number, and the way of the truth shall be hidden, and the land shall be barren of faith.
Yeah, so many shall be taken in great number, you know, and one of the biggest snares is the convenience of technology. You know, that's one of the biggest snares of Esau's kingdom is the convenience that he offers through his technology, man.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, which people give up, you know, their autonomy, all right, and their creativity, okay, and their skills, okay, to let technology do it for them, to think for them, to work for them, to do these things, okay, and that's one of the biggest traps, all right, and ultimately the C-hip, you know, that's why I say there's a lot of people that's gonna volunteer for their C-hip because they. Eve had that dream. She said she's seen 4 stages. People voluntarily taking it. Okay. Then they started to promote it with, you know, the rappers and the entertainers, and then they made it to the point to where if you didn't have it, you couldn't operate. And then the last phase was, look, you gonna get this or you gonna die. All right. It was a military force. Okay. So we're going to see this first wave where people run to this technology, this C-hip, you know, and faith, okay, in this man's technology, man. Okay.
Bro.
No, that was it. We ended there, bro.
Come on.
Well, with that, you know, we pray, you know, that you brothers, all right, and you sisters edified once again. We're going to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Hakadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders, GMS, who rule well, teach well, being great example to us younger brothers, and peace and blessings salutations to the hopeful Shalom.
Shalom.